In today's global economy, where food prices have become one of the most visible signs of inflation, a simple question reveals a powerful financial reality. How far does $100 actually go when buying groceries? And what does that answer reveal about the true cost of living in different parts of the world? When this comparison is placed between Canada, one of the world's highest cost developed economies, and the Philippines, the difference is not just noticeable, it becomes a case study in purchasing power, financial discipline, and lifestyle sustainability in an era defined by rising expenses and economic uncertainty. Across North America, grocery inflation has remained one of the most persistent cost pressures for households, with Canadian food prices rising significantly over the past 3 years due to supply chain disruptions, higher transportation costs, labor shortages, currency fluctuations, and the structural reality of a cold climate nation that depends heavily on imported fresh produce during much of the year. While in contrast, the Philippines benefits from a tropical agricultural environment, lower labor costs, and a food culture built around locally sourced staples, creating a pricing environment where basic nutrition can be obtained at a fraction of Western costs. To create a realistic comparison, this analysis assumes a $100 grocery budget converted into local currency at current average exchange rate, which equals approximately 1 out of 30 Canadian dollars in purchasing power terms within Canada's consumer environment, and roughly 5,500 Philippine pesos within local markets and supermarkets, allowing a standardized evaluation based on typical urban shopping behavior, rather than extreme discount scenarios or luxury purchases. In Canada, a standard $100 grocery basket in a major city such as Toronto, Vancouver, or Calgary would typically include essential items such as 1 gallon of milk priced between $4 and $6, a dozen eggs ranging from $4 to $7 depending on grade, a loaf of bread averaging $3 to $5, 1 kilogram of chicken breast priced between $10 and $16, ground beef at approximately $12 per kilogram, a small assortment of fresh vegetables such as lettuce, tomatoes, onions, and potatoes, costing $15 to $20 combined, a limited selection of fruits such as apples and bananas for another $10 to $15, basic pantry items including rice or pasta for $5 to $8, and perhaps a single packaged or frozen convenience item, leaving very little remaining for variety, bulk purchases, or specialty nutrition such as organic products or fresh seafood. When analyzed in caloric and nutritional terms, this Canadian basket supports approximately one adult for 7 to 9 days under careful portion control, meaning the implied monthly grocery requirement for a single person ranges between $400 and $600 depending on dietary preferences, location, and seasonal price changes, a figure that aligns with national household expenditure data, showing food as one of the fastest growing components of living costs for middle-income earners. Now consider the same $100 budget within the Philippine context, where 5,500 pesos spent in a combination of public markets and mid-range. Supermarkets can purchase 5 kilograms of locally grown rice for approximately 250 to 350 pesos, 3 kilograms of chicken for around 450 to 600 pesos, 2 kilograms of pork for roughly 500 to 700 pesos, 1 kilogram of fresh fish for 200 to 350 pesos depending on type, multiple trays of eggs totaling 30 to 60 pieces for about 300 to 500 pesos, a wide variety of fresh vegetables including cabbage, eggplant, tomatoes, onions, squash, and leafy greens for 600 to 900 pesos, tropical fruits such as bananas, papaya, and mangoes for another 300 to 500 pesos, cooking essentials like oil, soy sauce, and seasonings for 300 to 400 pesos, and still leave room for bread, noodles, or occasional packaged items. From a volume perspective, the Philippine basket often supports one adult for 3 to 4 weeks, or a small family for 1 to 2 weeks, illustrating a purchasing power difference that exceeds simple currency conversion and reflects deeper structural economic factors including local supply chains, labor costs, land availability, and consumption patterns that prioritize fresh, minimally processed foods rather than heavily packaged products. The contrast becomes even more significant when examining price sensitivity to global disruptions, because Canadian grocery prices are highly exposed to fuel costs, international shipping rates, and import dependencies for fruits and vegetables during winter months, while Philippine markets, although affected by typhoons and seasonal variations, maintain a relatively stable baseline for staple foods due to domestic agricultural production and shorter distribution networks. Another critical factor influencing the real value of a $100 grocery budget is food waste risk and storage economics. As Canadian households often rely on bulk purchasing, refrigeration, and packaged goods designed for longer shelf life, which increases electricity usage and upfront spending, whereas Philippine shopping culture emphasizes frequent small purchases of fresh ingredients from local markets, reducing storage costs and improving budget flexibility for households managing limited income. However, the comparison is not entirely one-sided because Canada offers higher food safety standards, strict quality controls, consistent labeling, fortified products, and wider dietary diversity, including international cuisine options, plant-based alternatives, specialty nutrition, and year-round availability of items that may be seasonal or expensive in the Philippines. Meaning the higher cost also reflects a different level of supply reliability, regulation, and consumer choice. When grocery affordability is measured as a percentage of income rather than absolute price, the picture becomes more complex, because the average full-time worker in Canada earns between $3,500 and $5,000 per month after taxes, meaning a $500 monthly grocery budget represents roughly 10 to 15% of income, while in the Philippines, where the average urban salary ranges between 15,000 and 35,000 pesos per month, a 5,500 peso grocery budget may represent 15 to 35% of earnings, highlighting that affordability depends not only on prices but also on wage structures and employment opportunities. This distinction introduces a key concept in global financial planning known as purchasing power parity, which evaluates how far income can stretch within local economies, and it explains why expatriates, remote workers, and retirees earning in stronger currencies often experience a dramatic increase in lifestyle quality when relocating to lower-cost countries, while local residents may still face significant budget constraints despite lower nominal prices. As inflation continues to reshape household budgets worldwide, the simple comparison of a $100 grocery basket between Canada and the Philippines reveals a broader economic story about cost structures, supply chains, income ratios,